So today, I just want to chat with you, kind of like an older friend, like almost like an older brother, maybe. This is like my older brother episode, because this topic that I'm about to talk about is one of those where if I could sit myself down when I was like age 24, this is one of those things that I would say to myself. These are one of the things that I would, across from a table at a coffee shop, I would be like, listen to me, Nathan, former Nathan. So this all begins when I was having a conversation this past weekend with my dad and my brother-in-law Jake, and we all kind of started this conversation based on the statistic that recently came out this past November. And so the statistic basically was that first-time home buyer share falls to a historic low of 21%, and the median age of a first time home buyer rises to 40 years old. Okay. According to the National Association of Realtors, 40 years old. That basically means that, like, on average, when someone buys their first home, they're about 40 years old. That, just for perspective, like, that's like middle aged in depending on how long you live, right? But if you're living till 80, that's middle of your life. You can't buy your own house until you have made it halfway through your life. That is wild. And it's not only just wild, that's also historic. So if you look back in, like, a lot of our parents are, let's say they were buying houses back in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. When our parents were buying their first home, they were in their 20s. Okay? And those homes were way less priced. That was basically the world of the middle class market. And obviously I'm talking a lot USA here. I can't like tackle every single country in the world, but I'm mainly talking USA here. But that was middle class. And I mean, I think a lot of us, I mean, I grew up middle class. Like, I grew up very like middle of the middle class, right? My dad wasn't like making it. My dad was a pastor, so my dad wasn't making like a ton of money, but he also was like just smart with his money. And yeah, like we did fine and it was all good. But now that middle class market is just, it's nothing like it used to be. It's nothing like what it was for our parents. And so as we we're having this conversation, my brother-in-law Jake, he basically kind of summed it up this way. A lot of young people in their 20s today, when our parents were buying homes, they are expected to kind of make the salary of like 50,000 a year, or maybe even like a $70,000 a year salary. And then they're expected to like save up for about 10 years, pennies over those 10 years. And then finally, after like 10 years of that, or 20 years, if they're waiting till they're 40, then finally they might have enough to buy like a fixer upper home at like 250,000 or 300,000 on a huge loan, because they can't really afford much more. And then they can't even afford to pay off that house, and they can't even afford to do any sort of renovations to that house. Or, I mean, oftentimes these are very old houses too, right? And so these old houses need a lot of fixing, and they're not even able to like put the money into it, right? Like, that whole thing is so grim to look at, but he's right. And I remember as we were talking about this, I was actually getting so frustrated and so upset, because it just made me so sad. This isn't the American dream. Like, this is the American survival. That's what it sounds like. And I don't think it's just America. I think a lot of this is happening across the globe as well. But it's so wild to me, because it's like Jake was even saying, what we have happening here is this elimination of the middle market, right? Like, you used to have these three different markets. You used to have the poor, and then the middle class, and then the wealthy or the rich or the affluent, whatever have you. And now our world is becoming two categories. It's the people who are stuck in the rat race and the people who escape the rat race. Like, there's no middle anymore. There's no middle class anymore. And if there is, it's going away very, very quickly. And so let me just give you a little bit of background on even my story, okay? Because this is another part of like older brother Nate, like what I would tell younger Nate, okay? For those who, and you might be like, how does this impact photography? Okay, I'm not really talking full on like this is a photography topic right now, but a lot of the photographers that are listening to me, you're in that category where you're maybe making like 50,000 to 75,000. And then even if you're making like, again, 50 to 75, you take off taxes, you take off expenses, you take off like health insurance, all these things, and like what are you left with, right? And so like this is why I'm having this conversation with you, because I want to help you. I want to give you this, like, grab you by the lapel and be like, we've got to do something different. Like this, we can't keep going on like this. You know what I mean? Anyways, my story. So my story is basically like, okay, I grew up middle class. Again, my dad made a respectable salary. It was nothing crazy. Like he was a pastor of like a actually pretty small church. So he wasn't making big bucks. Okay. And he was very wise with money. And I'm pretty sure he got in probably his first house in his 20s, because that's what you could do back then. Back then he was buying his first house probably in like, I want to say the 70s or 80s. I don't know. I want to have to do the math on that. But I'm pretty sure he got in his first house in like his upper mid 20s. And then, like everybody, he ascended the market little by little. And then by then you're, comfortable and abundant by the time you're like 50 and 60, and you can have this like nice little retirement and whatever have you. And so I think a lot of us as the sons and daughters of this crowd of people, whether it's like elder millennials or like full on boomers, or I think there's one in between that, I don't know. We kind of think to ourselves like, oh yeah, that's enough for us too. Like I can do that too. Like that's what I'll do with my life, is I'll just kind of be middle class, whatever have you. Like I'm not, like, a lot of us don't necessarily grow up expecting ourselves to be like part of like the elite or the part of the wealthy or part of the rich or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I was just like, yeah, that's it. That's enough for me. And so then I remember when I met Kayla before we were married, that's when the little like alarm bells go off in my head of like, oh, I want a family someday. And I want to give my family abundance, and I want to give my family these dreams that I have for them. And so I was a photographer at a time when I was first dating Kayla and when we were thinking about marriage, and I was, renting an apartment at that time. It was a respectable apartment. It was great, but I was not in a position where I could buy a house. Like, and I wasn't going there anyways. I wasn't headed that direction. At the rate I was going, it wasn't going to cut it. And so I had this kind of realization of average isn't going to be enough. What I've been doing of just kind of being the average photographer and just like doing what all the other photographers do, and like, yeah, like that's what they do. It wasn't going to be enough. I was going to be in that middle class market that is very quickly expiring. And I was going to just join the rat race with everybody else and finally get in a house when I'm 40. Right. And so I had to make a change. I had to do something fundamentally different. I had to, in between my ears, say, I'm not going to settle for mediocrity, because mediocrity will not cut it in this day and age. And so I had this moment, and I think maybe it was like right when I got married, and you all know like the lore on my story by this point. I mean, you probably do, unless it's like your first time hearing it. But a lot of it is like I started learning business at this point. I dedicated myself to learning business. I dedicated myself to learning money, to learning mindset, to learning productivity, to learning self-discipline over my own flesh that just wanted to like wake up and like take the day by feeling and whatever. No, discipline. Discipline yourself. You wake up at this time, you do your work, you get productive with it. You are not going to just like fritter your time away and watch Netflix all day. You're going to do your work and you're going to figure out how to make freaking money. Okay, Nathan? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what like I was telling myself, like learn how to sell, learn how to watch what other people are doing and how they escaped the rat race. How did they do something different? And when I started doing all these things, that is when things changed for me. When I decided in my head, I will not be an average photographer. I will not be an average person in this market. I will not just be mediocre. I will not be middle class. No, I'm not going to do it. And that's when I changed. And from there, like from that decision on, that's when I started learning. That's when I started growing. That's when I started dedicating myself to these things. And so then it was such a cool thing, because all praise to God, by the time I think it was like my mid 20s. It's hazy to figure out exactly. I should have just asked my wife, like, when did we buy our first house? But by the time we were in my either mid to upper 20s, that's when we were able to buy our first home. And by the way, our first home was, I think it was about 300,000, 310,000, I think. And it was at the market was actually at an all time high. Like, you can go back like right during the months when we bought and you can see like this peak. So we did not buy our house in like a little dip of, oh, this is really, we're getting a good deal on this. No, we did not get a good deal on it. But it was this beautiful experience where we were able to actually buy a house and we got it. You know what I'm saying? And then it was really cool too, because we were able to put money into it as we accumulated more money with my job taking in more money. And so we put in about, I'd say 90,000 to 100,000 in with renovations, and, like furnishings, things like that. And then I'll also say, like, Kayla and I also put a lot of our own sweat equity in as well. And like, we did a lot of the fixing up ourselves and a lot of DIYing. And so then by the time we were again in our upper 20s, like probably 2 years after, okay, maybe even 1 year after we had moved there, it was finally like, oh, this house is definitely shaping up to be like a house we really love. And it's not just this like, oh, we're settling for this dump. You know what I'm saying? And so then it was really cool too, because we were able to eventually years later sell our house at 450,000. And we literally sold our house at 450,000 in like 12 hours flat. Like, we had multiple offers. And I think it's a lot of due to the fact that, like, A, God, B, we were able to put a lot of just renovations into it and make it nice, make it very like palatable for people. And so it was just this beautiful opportunity. It was just okay. It's this beautiful vignette, like this story of we were able to escape. And I guess my whole point in this is to tell you that this is possible, because I was that person who naturally was not good at business, naturally was not good at making money, was totally going to be that like middle market guy who just ended up struggling the rest of his life because he didn't realize that the middle market didn't exist anymore, and he's actually just going to end up poor. And he changed it. Like, I changed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got it in my head. I made the decision. I'm going to change it. Right? God is a huge part of this, by the way. This is all glory to God. None of this is me. But I do need you to understand that the decision had to be made, right? Like, the decision in your head has to be made of, I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I even look at students in my business blueprint coaching program, and obviously, like, these are people who I am very up close to in personal. Like, I just see, these are the people I see up close and personal who are like in the throes of where I was many years ago. And it's so cool because we have a lot of different people from our group, and they'll post stuff in our group and they'll say, we just put an offer in on our first house and we never thought we could. Or oh my word, I love them. Their names are Quentin and Megan. I've had them on my show before, and I follow them. They have this account now where they're building their house. They're building a brand new house for themselves. And it's so cool. I love watching them. Like, Quentin is he's such an artist, and his house is just like so beautiful as I see it coming together, and it just looks like such a dream home. Like, I love it. And it's so wild to me, and it just like blows my mind, and it makes me so thankful that the Lord put them in my path. Because I like, they were barely making ends meet back when we first started working together. Like, I remember those conversations we were having, and like, they were in a place so similar to like where I was in, where it was just like, what we're doing now is not going to cut it, and something's got to change. And now they're like building their dream house. And I just say this because I'm like, this is possible. This is possible. And that's why this kind of a topic brings me back. Like, as I was talking to my brother Jake and my dad, I was just like in myself. I was like, this is why I do what I do. This is why I coach people for business. This is why I help people make money, because I want them to be able to escape. I want you to be able to escape this rat race, this American survival. Okay. And And by the way, I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying I'm the only one to help you escape. Like, sure, I would love to help you. I would love if you would trust me to be your business coach, right? I would love that. August 12th, I'm not going to hide this. August 12th, my business blueprint is opening. My business blueprint coaching program helps a heck of a lot of people escape this rat race. I will not hide behind that. I will sell you on that because it does help people and I fully, fully believe in it. Okay. That being said, I'm not saying you have to have me be your coach. Okay. But whether through me or whether another way, you find another way, you've got to figure out a way to escape this rat race, okay, of our generation. You've got to figure out a way to play a different game than most people, quote unquote, play. You can't stay average, my friend. It is just average is just going to get worse and worse and worse, is my prediction. You have to decide now between your ears. I am not going to be hanging around in the middle of this industry. I'm not going to be mediocre. I'm not going to be chill with just being at the middle of the industry. I am going to be in the top 15% of my industry or the top 10% of my industry or the top 5% of my industry, period. And obviously what that also means is you can't do what everyone else is doing. That's not your bar. You have to have higher standards. You have to be willing to work harder. You have to be willing to work smarter and find out how to work smarter. You have to be willing to learn more and to humble yourself to figure out how to learn more, who to learn from, learn better, all these things, right? You can't be like most people. I'm telling you right now, you can't settle for that anymore. It is not enough. I know this is a sobering message. I know. It actually kind of pisses me off that like we're here. And I don't know, like so many people are going to be like, oh, this is a political thing. This is a who's at the head of our politics or government or who's running our economy or like whatever have you. You know what? I don't know. The reality is though, we're here. We are here. And so the important thing is, what do we do with this now? The important thing is we have to make a decision. How do we escape? How do we escape so that we're not a pawn in this game? We play a different game, right? We're not following the highway, the traffic jam that everyone else is on. We're like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to look around and I'm going to say, there's another road over here that all the winners are on. I'm leaving this highway. I'm going to go find that road. Right. And like, I'm just telling you guys, there's no middle of the line anymore. I've said that about 18 times now. There isn't. It is winners, or it will be. It'll be winners and it'll be losers in the market. That'll be the two categories. And my thing is, I want you to be a winner. If you are listening to this episode, I want you to be a winner. I want you to be financially free. I want you and your family to be abundant. I want your dreams for your family to take care of them and the visions you have for them. I want those to be true for you. But you've got to decide now that you're going to make them happen in your 20s, in your 30s, right? Like be the first in your bloodline who's like, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it differently. This podcast right here, Nathan Chansky podcast. I don't know. This episode is going to be your turning point, someone's turning point right now. And if it's not your turning point, maybe you're already on this road and you're like, this is just confirmation to keep going on this road that escapes the middle market, that escapes the mediocrity, that escapes the average. Okay. That's it, my friends. I am rooting so hard for you. I am passionate about this topic. I didn't hold back in this episode. I honestly got the idea for this episode like 20 minutes ago, and here we are. So I just need you to hear this from a place of love, truly. But I am rooting for you. I'm going to keep showing up for you in this way. I'd love to work with you as your coach one day. I'd love to work with you in August 12th, honestly. Okay? You got this.